Generally speaking, inflammation is the immune system's response to an irritant. The irritant might be a germ, but it could also be a foreign object such as a splinter in your finger. Chronic inflammation is also referred to as slow, long-term inflammation that lasts for prolonged periods of several months to years. Generally, the extent and the effects of chronic inflammation vary with the cause of the injury and the ability of the body to repair and to overcome the damage. A blood test that measures a protein produced by the liver, C-reactive protein, rises in response to inflammation. A CRP level between 1 and 3 milligrams per litre of blood is often a signal of a low yet chronic level of inflammation. Long-term diseases that doctors associate with inflammation include asthma, chronic peptic ulcer, tuberculosis, rheumatoid arthritis, periodontitis, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, sinusitis, psoriasis, and active hepatitis, and many more. The classic sign of an autoimmune disease is inflammation. You can check out my other video on autoimmune diseases and then some of my specific treatment plans for different autoimmune disorders for more information on dietary and lifestyle changes that can help you with your condition. The Mthfr mutation is believed to predispose a person to certain cancers, birth defects, and autoimmune diseases. The observed association between markers of systemic inflammation with the Mthfr showing a common pathobiological mechanism between inflammation processes and the Mthfr, which is a key enzyme in the homocysteine metabolism. One way to determine if you're likely to have an Mthfr polymorphism is by checking out a list of common psychological symptoms of over or under methylation. You can then find a list of supplements. For example, if you're an undermethylator, you can take B vitamins, D-L-methionine, trimethylglycine, SAMe, and methyl tetrahydrofolate. All of the supplementation can then help to decrease the harmful effects of the homocysteine and thus reduce inflammation, thereby decreasing your risk of chronic inflammatory diseases. Antioxidants help to counteract oxidative stress. They neutralize excess free radicals to protect cells, prevent illness, and to reduce inflammation. Imagine antioxidants as the body's army. You want a solid, diverse army to protect against too many free radicals, which can lead to oxidative stress. You can check out my video on antioxidants to learn some easy ways to adjust your diet or add supplements to not only help to prevent oxidative stress, but also reduce inflammation. If you've been sleeping poorly due to inflammation, you may fall into a negative cycle between inflammation and poor sleep. When you're not sleeping well, getting adequate REM sleep, and waking up refreshed, your inflammation is harder to manage, and you feel more pain, stress, and anxiety. You could check out my video on herbs to help you sleep for more information here. Many chronic conditions are linked to stress. Over time, inflammation can damage things like joints and bones, causing abnormalities. Inflammation in rheumatoid arthritis is partly caused by cytokines, which are chemicals that are released by the stress. So if you're stressed, you'll release more of these chemicals, increasing the amount of inflammation that's in your body. There's many stress-busting therapies, such as meditation and yoga, and they may be helpful. There's also many herbs that can help. You could check out my other videos on topics like neurotransmitters, such as serotonin, acetylcholine, and GABA, and also my videos on the various mental health conditions, and finally the videos on nootropics, brain-boosting herbs, and choline sources. Any way to help to normalize neurotransmitter production or make your day easier, for example, by increasing your productivity and focus, may lead to a reduction in stress and inflammation. Cortisol is a potent anti-inflammatory, and it functions to mobilize glucose reserves for energy and to modulate inflammation. Cortisol may also facilitate the consolidation of fear-based memories for future survival and the avoidance of danger. As soon as any adrenal weakness occurs, the body becomes increasingly susceptible to inflammatory responses. With each reduction in the output of cortisol, the body's inflammatory response increases, and inflammatory reactions such as pain, redness, heat, swelling, and loss of function increase over time. Systemic inflammation causes elevated cortisol levels. If we can naturally decrease inflammation in the body and minimize stress, then decreased cortisol levels should follow, resulting in decreased chronic disease risk and improved wellness. Some natural methods of cortisol control involve taking Tulsi tea, also known as holy basil, or by taking the supplement phosphatidylserine at doses of 600 to 800 milligrams per day. In a stressed body, your pregnenolone can end up getting converted to cortisol for its stress response. However, if this occurs over a long period of time, it can lead to a lot of problems. This is because, as well as being needed for the cortisol, pregnenolone is also required to synthesize DHEA, which is a powerful anti-aging substance, as well as testosterone and estrogen. Pregnenolone is capable of suppressing pro-inflammatory cytokines induced by lipopolysaccharides and PAM3CKS4 in the macrophages and the microglial cells. The neuroprotective role of pregnenolone is attributed mainly to its anti-inflammatory property. By supplementing with pregnenolone, you can not only help to support your body's stress response, preventing adrenal fatigue, but also help to support the production of your body's natural anti-aging stress compounds like testosterone, estrogen, and DHEA. This is one of the many reasons that people take supplementary doses of pregnenolone. It should be noted that in order to do this safely, a blood test should be performed to first assess your hormone levels pre and post supplementation to ensure that you are within a safe range. An anti-inflammatory diet favours fruit and vegetables, foods containing omega-3 fatty acids, whole grains, lean protein, healthy fats and spices. It discourages or limits the consumption of processed food, red meat and alcohol. The anti-inflammatory diet is not a specific regime, but rather a style of eating. Foods to avoid are sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Table sugar and high fructose corn syrup are two main types of added sugar in the Western diet. Avoid artificial trans fats, vegetable and seed oil, refined carbohydrate, excessive alcohol, and processed meat. Some foods to have are olive oil, green leafy vegetables like spinach, kale, and collards, nuts like almonds and walnuts, fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, tuna, and sardines, and fruits like strawberries, blueberries, cherries, and oranges. Research suggests that curcumin can help in the management of oxidative and inflammatory conditions, metabolic syndrome, arthritis, anxiety, and hyperlipidemia. It may also help in the management of exercise-induced inflammation and muscle soreness, thus enhancing recovery and subsequent performance in active people. Doses can range from 1 to 5 grams per day, but due to its low bioavailability, it should be consumed with biopterin, which is a black pepper extract, or taken with an oil like ghee, butter, coconut oil, or fish oil. Found in tiny amounts in red wine, Resveratrol has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties to protect against diseases like cancer, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. The anti-inflammatory effects of Resveratrol make it a good remedy for arthritis and skin inflammation. Typical doses range from 500 to 1000 milligrams per day in the form of trans Resveratrol. Linoleic acid and arachidonic acid tend to promote inflammation. Gamma-linoleic acid, on the other hand, may actually reduce inflammation. Some studies even suggest that gamma-linoleic acid protects the DNA. The body converts much of the gamma-linoleic acid taken as a supplement to a substance called DGLA, and this fights inflammation. You can get gamma-linoleic acid from evening primrose oil or the more cost-effective, stronger borage oil. Omega-3 fatty acids can reduce the production of molecules and substances that are linked to inflammation. such as inflammatory eicosanoids and cytokines. Studies have consistently observed that there's a connection between higher omega-3 intake and reduced inflammation. Typical doses could range anywhere from 3 to 9 grams per day of an EPA-DHA omega-3 fish oil blend. Glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. The anti-inflammatory effects of reduced glutathione are exerted through the inhibition of ACE activity, the decrease of reactive oxygen species, and the reduction of NF-kappa B. You can supplement with reduced glutathione at doses of 1,000 milligrams per day. The newer acetyl glutathione has been shown to be more effective than intravenous glutathione. N-acetylcysteine is required by your body to produce its own glutathione. Also, selenium is required, which you could get from eating 3 Brazil nuts per day. Eating asparagus is another way to increase glutathione. Beyond its critical role in calcium homeostasis, vitamin D has recently been found to play an important role in the modulation of the immune inflammation system via regulating the production of inflammatory cytokines and inhibiting the proliferation of pro-inflammatory cells, both of which are crucial for the pathogenesis of inflammatory disease. Several studies have associated lower vitamin D status with an increased risk and unfavorable outcomes of acute infections. Vitamin D supplementation bolsters clinical responses to acute infection. Moreover, chronic inflammatory diseases such as atherosclerosis-related cardiovascular disease, asthma, inflammatory bowel disease, chronic kidney disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and others tend to have lower vitamin D status. You can get a 25-hydroxy vitamin D3 blood test and then supplement accordingly. Moderate amounts of vitamin C can significantly treat and reduce inflammation, as was measured by the HS-CRP and interleukin-6 in hypertensive and/or diabetic adults. The best form of vitamin C would be a liposomal vitamin C. Then next would be a non-acidic pH-buffered form, with the worst kind being cheap, acidic ascorbic acid. Vitamin E is metabolized by cytochrome P450 and then it's excreted in the urine. In human subjects and animal models, high doses of vitamin E were found to exhibit anti-inflammatory effects by decreasing C-reactive protein and by inhibiting the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines. Just make sure to supplement with a mixed tocopherol natural vitamin E source. Vitamin K has been shown to act as an anti-inflammatory by suppressing NF-kappa B signal transduction and to exert a protective effect against oxidative stress by blocking the generation of reactive oxygen species. It was labelled Activator X by Dr. Weston Price for its many beneficial health effects. Vitamin K2 should be taken in the form of MK7 for the best results. Common doses would range from 100 to 300 micrograms per day. Zinc in humans plays an important role in cell-mediated immunity, and it's also an antioxidant and an anti-inflammatory agent. Zinc supplementation studies in the elderly have shown decreased incidence of infections, decreased oxidative stress, and decreased generation of inflammatory cytokines. The cytokines are known to mediate chronic inflammatory processes. Be sure to get a bioavailable form of zinc, as many forms have poor bioavailability. Zinc is required by around 100 different processes in the body, so a deficiency can lead to many health problems. Zinc is not stored, so daily supplementation is necessary. Animal studies have shown that magnesium deficiency induces an inflammatory response that results in leukocyte and macrophage activation, a release of inflammatory cytokines, an acute phase protein, and excessive production of free radicals. The best form of magnesium is magnesium bisglycinate. To determine your dose, slowly increase until side effects such as stomach discomfort or diarrhea is noticed, then gradually reduce until these side effects disappear. This will then be your maximum daily tolerable dose. There's numerous herbs that have anti-inflammatory properties, like ginger, garlic, cardamom, black pepper, ginseng, green tea, and rosemary. For best results, a varied diet containing a range of anti-inflammatory foods, herbs, supplements, and lifestyle changes could yield the best results, especially when conditions related to chronic inflammation involve making permanent changes for these lifelong conditions. There's numerous enzymes that have many proven benefits, such as anti-inflammatory effects. Enzymes are incredibly important for life, and without them we couldn't survive. As the body is a chemical factory, changing substances that are essential to life through chemical reactions, enzymes are required by many of these pathways to speed up the rate at which these reactions occur. Some enzymes have been shown to speed up reactions by a factor of 1 million. Several studies have shown that proteolytic enzymes are effective at reducing inflammation and symptoms that are related to inflammatory conditions. One study found that injecting the proteolytic enzyme chymotrypsin, trypsin, and ceratidopeptidase into rats reduced inflammation more than aspirin. Enzymes are pH and temperature dependent, and processes such as cooking can denature certain enzymes. This appears to be one of the reasons that a raw food diet can have such a profound effect on delaying the effects of aging. From this, we can conclude that a raw food, or mainly raw food diet, will have great benefits for inflammatory conditions. Mitochondria can regulate how immune cells respond to infection and tissue damage. For example, these organelles can produce pro- or anti-inflammatory signals by altering the levels of metabolites that are produced in the Krebs cycle, or by changing the level of the production of reactive oxygen species. You could check out my other video on supplement for enhancing mitochondrial function for more ways to optimize your health. When the mitochondrial physiology is perturbed, dysfunctional mitochondria instigate or they propagate inappropriate and persistent inflammation via multiple mechanisms, including inflammasome activation, dysregulation of immune signaling, alteration of immunometabolism, and the release of mitochondrial damage-associated molecular patterns, which, in consequence, leads to chronic inflammatory disorders in affected organs or systemically. Some common ways to support your mitochondria are CoQ10, PQQ, D-ribose, cold water exposure, breathing exercises, and one of the only known substances shown to dump damaged mitochondria and to generate new ones is the research compound SR9009. This was developed as a cure for jet lag, but it's showing promising results in the treatment of many autoimmune conditions, as well as enhancing athletic performance. Exercise can increase the mitochondria's oxidative capacity. However, it should be noted that roughly more than 1 hour of exercise per day can cause excessive oxidation, and unless an increased amount of antioxidants are consumed to counterbalance this effect, negative consequences such as inflammation, free radical damage, and premature aging can occur. You can go to my website to learn more about the herbs or supplements talked about here.